Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. How are we all doing across the interwebs?
Good.
Love it. So, for those of you who don't know, we're going to be jumping into a nice little AMA here today. We're going to go through some intros in a moment. First, just want to introduce myself. I am Falcor. I am the new head of community here at Scale Labs. So, you're going to be seeing a lot more of me across all of these AMAs and videos. Make sure you're in the Discord because I'm always in there and you can always chat to me and learn more about Scale. But for those of you who are new and don't actually completely know what Scale is, let me give you a little bit of a rundown on what we're doing and why we are aiming to be built different across the Web3 and blockchain space. So we're looking here. Scale is a gas-free, invisible blockchain network built differently to scale not only gaming, AI, deepen, and so much more. Thanks to the high throughput, scalable, and sustainable nature of our Scale chains, Scale has become the #1 gaming blockchain in the world. But today, we're going to be looking and diving deeper into what on-chain gaming really looks like with James Giacomo. Oh, butchered of a name there. Giacomo and my good friend Sawyer. So why don't we throw it on over to James for some intros?
Awesome. Really appreciate the introduction, Sawyer. So great to meet you, all of you. I'm super excited to be here. Really great to be working with the Zoppel universe, with Scale. A little bit about myself, and then I will get to the Sequence aspect. So I'm James Lawton. I'm the head of dev role here at Sequence for the past year or so. But I've been working in blockchain for around 10 years or so, been a software engineer, a developer, built a lot of different use cases across a lot of different verticals. Previously, I was the head of gaming at Chainlink Labs. And I really saw what Sequence is doing, and I'm really excited to join here and to be working with Scale and Zoppel.
Thank you for that. And Giacomo, please tell me if I'm saying your name wrong.
No, it's perfect.
Amazing. Why don't you give us a little intro about yourself?
Yeah, Giacomo. It's simple as that. Also, in English, it's James. So actually, it's the same name. So.
Oh.
How could you not get that?
I have no idea. British ignorance, we'll say.
Yeah, guys, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for this opportunity. Yeah, I'm Giacomo, the CEO and founder of Zoppel. Actually, my background is in music because I am a musician. I traveled the world for 15 years, from USA to France, all the Europe. I meet some legends like Bootsy Collins or Marcus Miller. I meet Steve Albini from Shellac. So the past, all my background is in the art and cultural sector. And I started in business stuff in 18. I founded a kind of club, a cultural hub for musicians in Italy, and so now I am the founder of Zoppel, and I putting all my passion in this project.
Amazing. And I'm sure our community and viewers have heard enough of him. I've only been here for 2 weeks, and I have definitely heard way too much of his voice. But Sawyer, why don't you give us a little intro?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll keep this brief since you've clearly heard enough from me. Hey everybody, great to be here again. My name's Sawyer, for those of you who don't know me. If you see me in Discord or on Twitter or pretty much anywhere else, you'll probably see me as the Great Axios. So same person. I run Scale's developer success team, so I'm very fortunate I get to work in the Scale community, day in, day out, working with amazing projects and infrastructure partners like Zoppel, like Sequence, to help everybody build, leverage, and ideally succeed right on Scale's technology. I'm also one of the lead community developers, so I do quite a bit in terms of working with not Scale Labs directly, but also with a lot of the validators, developers who may not be fully committed to Scale yet, who are trying to build and succeed in the Scale ecosystem. So great to be here. Back over to you, Falcor.
Yeah, Sawyer. I feel like if Sawyer disappeared, we would have a lot of issues as this at that scale. But no, incredible. So obviously, what we really want to do is jump into a what it is that you guys are actually working on. For those who may not have 100% idea on what Sequence is, what Zoppel is, maybe even what Scale is. Let's jump into a little bit more of a deep dive into. James, for Sequence, like what is Sequence?
Beautiful. So I'm excited. I get to kick this off and show first. So really, Sequence is a full stack Web3 gaming focused infrastructure platform. And really, that's a big differentiator between us versus other, infrastructure providers out there. We cover everything, and we're specifically laser focused on the gaming demographic. A little bit about our history. We've been active since around 2018. We built out a game called Skyweaver for quite a long time. So we're really familiar with building scalable blockchain-enabled games. And then while we were building Skyweaver, really the development of that realized that a lot of the solutions on the market just weren't suitable for building blockchain games. And therefore, we created Sequence and started offering it as a service to other Web3 game developers out there in order to accelerate their go-to-market and to solve a lot of pain points. So basically, to sum it all up, we like to say, we make it run and you make it fun. So you focus on the fun aspects, on building a game, manage your game economy, all that good stuff. And we take care of like the boring blockchain aspects and wallets and Unity SDKs and relayers and indexers, all the stuff that you need for your game to run and for it to be successful and to feel like just a game instead of like you're playing a blockchain, whack-a-mole. So we take care of all that and allow someone to really accelerate their development.
No, awesome. And you know what? I can actually tell that you are indeed a real gamer from I'm 90% positive that's a Discord plushie. And then B, I see The Witcher. I can't see the rest of them, but I can tell that you are a gamer. So you are preaching what you are making, which is 100%, man.
Yeah.
So that great intro onto Sequence, and we'll go to the other James on nice little intro into Zoppel.
Yeah, let me say that I love The Witcher. It's one of the best game ever. So actually, so I always love to say human first. And I started writing the Zoppel story during my trip on the road. And everything started from a story, from a comic book. And, the team came together really naturally with all the people I met in my history, all the talent artists. And actually is a kind of magic because in 1 year and a half, because we established Zoppel in Italy in May 2023. So we already activated a lot of milestones. We released our first volume of the comic in Tokyo Comic Con this December, and now we are releasing our alpha. Also thanks to Scale and Sequence, of course, and everything James already said. And we are a startup in Italy, and we are building. We want to build a kind of unique digital universe where comics and video game merge together with a cutting edge technology. And our primary goal is to make it for everyone, so simple that also my grandma can play it. And this is possible thanks to our partner, of course. And we are ready for the future. We want more Comic Cons. We want to grow. We want new challenges, and this is our path. We want 2 European grants as a startup. So this is the beginning, actually. So that's what we want to build for everyone.
No, incredible. Yeah, I am a massive nerd. If I had I just moved offices, so Sawyer, I showed Sawyer my my old kind of setup, which has like this massive picture of the Hulk fighting the Human Torch, and it's signed by Stan Lee, like hand signed by him, and it's like this incredible piece of artwork, and I've got like Lego and everything. So, bro, you are talking my language, comics, like everything, man, which is really cool. That's the thing that I really can appreciate about Web3 is the fact that there are so many different mediums that we can share our passion for gaming in, or nerd culture and things like that, and with the kind of the decentralized model, it allows us to try all these different things, and not only be pigeonholed into just a game until you reach multi-million dollars in revenue and things like that. So it's the great thing about building within Web3. And finally, for those of you who don't know, how do you not know what Scale is? Sawyer, why don't you give us a little intro into what is Scale?
Absolutely. Before I do that, I think it's really important to call out that in my shorter stint in the blockchain space than James from Sequence, I have not had anybody ever tell me they were going to Comic-Con. And so when I heard that, I was like, okay, this is getting real. We get like I get a lot of feedback from people. They're like, oh, I'm sure everybody gets it. Oh, blockchain's not really there yet. It's still very new. And I think, it's people like you, Giacomo, that are, going and doing these really, like, you're going and taking what we're building, right, and trying to be, more open and public. You're taking it to people that don't necessarily care about blockchain, but they care about good games that adhere to these types of principles. So I just want to say, really cool. I was really excited to hear that. And you need to tell me some more stories from it, because I know it was just a couple weeks ago. So, but anyways, on to Scale. So as Falcor mentioned, for those of you who are tuning in and you've been in the Scale community, or you've been in blockchain for a while, you've probably heard of Scale in some way, shape, or form. But if you haven't, here is your quick introduction to it. So as you mentioned before, Scale is built very, very different. Okay, and this was by design from day one. For those of you who are familiar with blockchain, you've probably heard of Bitcoin and Ethereum and maybe some others. These are what we call monolithic blockchains. Scale is not a monolithic blockchain. Scale is a network of many chains, specifically a network of many, what I like to call mini Ethereums. The reason I call them mini Ethereums is because they're fully EVM compatible. EVM stands for Ethereum Virtual Machine, but for the average person, we don't go around talking about EVM because it just sounds really, really, really nerdy, even more so than having a giant Hulk and Human Torch poster behind me, which would also be really cool. I'm pretty jealous. That being said, why I like to call these mini Ethereums is because they do everything that Ethereum can, but then it's kind of like they're on steroids and have superpowers, in the sense that our biggest value proposition, at least I think so still, is zero gas fees. So if you tried to do any transaction on any blockchain anywhere in the world at any time in the last, 10 years or so, you've been hit with a gas fee, unless you've done it on Scale, or unless you've used a gas abstraction partner, which technically Sequence does as well on other chains. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Zero gas fees is the biggest value proposition of the Scale network today. So we have many chains. You may have heard of some of them. We have our Europa DeFi hub, our Nebula gaming hub, which is where both Sequence and Zoppel are deployed to currently. We have our Calypso Hub, which is kind of a hodgepodge of everything, started as NFTs, kind of pivoted from there. And then lastly, we have our Titan AI Hub. We also have a number of dedicated scale chains, which we call app chains, which are dedicated to single projects. So these are our, other amazing gaming ecosystem projects like Stray Shot and Crypto Blades, and a number of others. So again, diving back into what makes Scale so different, what is Scale? It is a blockchain network full of many chains. The biggest value proposition is the zero gas fee piece, but it's also fast, very, very fast. Scale chains are capable of doing hundreds of transactions per second. We can continuously add scale chains to the network as long as there's a demand for them and as long as we keep adding validators. We also have a number of what I call like the bells and whistles or the features, things like native on-chain RNG, so random number generation, huge for gamers, huge for gaming. Doesn't cost you anything because again, zero gas fee. We have native Oracle, native file storage. We have our own native bridge that builds us into allows us to bridge tokens in from Ethereum in a super secure way. And then last but not least, even though we are not, I want to repeat, not a roll up, we do not roll up to anybody else. None of our chains roll up to anybody. We do inherit some security from Ethereum because a portion of our validator orchestration, because we are not an L2, we do have validator nodes, a portion of our validator management actually lives on the Ethereum mainnet. And so this gives us additional security on top of our already super secure consensus and BLS threshold encrypted validation. It also gives us some security from the Ethereum mainnet. So it's a lot. Scale is very different, like I said, than everybody else. So there is a lot to talk about. But I'm going to pause there and highlight that with the three core things that I believe are the most important for on-chain gaming. Number one, zero gas fees. This allows us to do the invisible experiences and have amazing partners and dApps actually want to build on us. Number two, we have to be fast, right? You can't just be cheap anymore. You have to also be fast. Then lastly, those native features are a game changer, quite literally. I think I've got probably over 25% of the games that come through the Scale pipeline now use one of these native, RNG features or Oracle or file storage. So I think those are kind of the three big things, minus the multi-chain infinite scalability, of course. But I'll pause there. Hope that was a solid intro. I don't see any comments coming in, so I don't know if that piece is working. So for whatever reason, if people have questions throughout this, feel free to tag either Scale Network or myself on Twitter, or join our Discord, send in any questions, and we'll hit those at the end. But back over to you, Falcor.
Yeah, so third week I am here, and you have just brain dumped a lot of things that I actually didn't know, specifically the file storage one, which is interesting. I actually would love to, after this, I'd love to learn more about that. But yeah, I think one of the things that a lot of people within blockchain don't quite understand, which is interesting, is the user onboarding experience, right? But specifically the amount of time it takes to go from a website pressing download to getting into your first game, right? There's this massive kind of psychological theory when it comes to shopping online, right? Where it's the least number of buttons before you can buy, press and put in your credit card information. Because when it goes from 3 buttons to 4 buttons, there's this weird mental block that starts to happen. And the biggest issue with onboarding in Web3 is, all these different chains have all of these different wallets, and you have to download a wallet, get a seed phrase. You need to then go onto a centralized exchange and send the gas money over to this new wallet. And you're probably losing like 70-80% of your potential user base on that experience. And that's the thing that attracted me so much to Scale, was this gasless and invisible experience. I played Haven's Compass. I didn't even know it was a blockchain game. If it was jump in, log in, and then I actually spoke to Sawyer, and he was like, oh yeah, every time you press start match, that's like a transaction. And I'm like, what? I genuinely had no idea. It was incredible. But no, yeah, great kind of intro into what is Scale. And kind of following on from, without patting ourselves on the back, how awesome we are. Giacomo. Oh God, so did I get it right?
Yes. No,
Yes.
no worries.
Wait, did I get it right? You have to tell me if I'm wrong. Giacomo.
You continually move the accent around the name, but it's perfect. No
Okay. What is it that kind of made you pick scale and sequence, like, respectively? Like, what is it that attracted you to our incredible products?
Yeah, I think we already touched a lot of the points that we fall in love with scale actually kind of immediately because it's different. And I always think that we are different as a project, starting from for the human part, from a story, from thinking about the users maybe more than other aspects of the blockchain that usually is on the mainstream with only with the word blockchain. So also the title of this meeting is perfect, but because the question is, this is on-chain. This is a question that I think the people don't have to put on the plate, because we want to build something that is really for everyone, and there is only one way for us. We choose scale for this reason, because the gasless is something really powerful. It's like a game changer for all the for all the world of the gaming. We are at the beginning, I think. So despite all the option in the blockchain field, because the mobile gaming on blockchain is growing, and all the blockchain are trying to take something from the gaming, because it's maybe the best environment where we can explore the all the unique characteristic of the blockchain. So yeah, scalability, the community, the desire to be the first blockchain in the gaming, the no gas fee, these are all the aspects that we choose with scale. And now we are more than happy, because scale is growing really fast and we love it. And for sequence actually is the same, because we first meet Faku from Sequence some month ago, and we start talking. The plan was really similar, because we already designed all the infrastructure, not only for the game, because creating a game is not only okay, I have an NFT here, something else here. Is a complex economy that you have to create, to balance also with the gameplay aspect, because a game is a game. So first of all, have to be fun and engaging. So sequence is the way to create with scale something really direct for the people. That's why we are creating a casual game. So it's a kind of shoot 'em up, and this is the first. Of course, there is a huge lore behind, because it's the first world of the story. We will have 3 more worlds, and this is something that you will find on the stores, like every Web2 game. So this is the the point, to convert the Web2 players, not to convert, sorry, but to bring to the Web2 players the beautiful aspects of the blockchain in a seamless way.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, because I feel like there's this almost two different sides of a coin when it comes to Web3 gaming. And there's like one side, it's like we need to bring in Web 2 gamers to Web 3 gamers. Web 2 gamers to Web 3 games. And then on the other side, which I feel like is more on like my side and what I'm sensing is your side, is I don't want a differentiation between Web 2 games and Web 3 games. What I want is gaming to remain as gaming. Like, I don't go into, I don't pick the games I play based on whether they're built on Unity or if they're based on another one that I just don't know off the top of my head. And I'm going to be stuck here for a second. I genuinely can't remember.
Unreal.
Unreal. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I genuinely, my brain just I went Unity, and I was like, I can't remember anymore. Yeah, but I don't pick my game based on if it's Unity or Unreal, or if it's coded in Lua back in the day versus, you know, Java or something like. And that for me is that's what it should be, because in essence, you're still just making a game, right? When you pick your game, you pick it based off of the genre, right? If it's an RPG, if it's an FPS, if it's a MMO, that's what you pick it off, not what the back end is, interested in. And I think it's interesting when, and kind of counterintuitive when games kind of push that as their main marketing material, is like, we are a Web3 play to earn NFT integrated player economy. And it's like, just focus on your game. Please, like, that's what you got. Just focus on your game. But yeah, that's what it really feels like. That and it's nice because it feels like that's what you're building as well.
Yeah. You know, also I am a father, so sometimes I think about the future and what we can improve for the next generation. And I don't want to open another discussion, but in the last years, I think a lot of gamers like me are squeezed inside a kind of play to win model where you have to pay to enjoy the game, and this is a kind of it's crazy. So this is the way to build something for the people. And of course there are all the speculation, NFTs and everything else, but in the end it will remain something that is important for the people. So let's try to build it.
100%. For a good game to succeed, in essence, it needs one quality. It needs to be a good game.
Yeah.
So kind of moving back over to the technical stuff, James, obviously, I would love to know, what is it that, can you tell us kind of more about the sequence and scale integration? And also, what is it that it unlocks specifically for developers that are currently in our ecosystem and developers that are looking to jump into our ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think this is also nicely piggybacking over into the technical end from what Giacomo said, because one thing that we found building out a lot of these games is, especially game developers and good game developers, they traditionally do not know so much about blockchain. So either it's you're a native Web3 developer and you want to input some game mechanics, or you're on the other end of the spectrum and you know everything there is to know. You're coming from a traditional gaming studio like Blizzard or Zynga, whatever, and then you want to incorporate some blockchain elements, but you're kind of missing this middle piece. And so what we've learned is, like, how do you meet developers halfway where they're already building, to accelerate them and to make sure that it's a smooth process. So as an example of this, like, we're working with Zoppel. They're using our Uni SDK. And we also have SDKs for other game engines, but I think that's an important piece is, how do you make the blockchain feel native to where game developers are already building? Because if they have to go off to some other tool to learn a whole new programming language, this will be like, the barrier will just be so significant that it inhibits adoption. So that's one thing that we're doing for games. And just because we're working with Zoppel specifically on this, I wanted to highlight how we do this for scale. So because we moved into scale, this is one of the things we offer, and we're actually the only embedded wallet solution that's a verified solution on the Unity store, for example. And so that's just like a badge of trust that basically Unity developers really believe in, and then basically easily download our SDK. A little bit more about sequence and scale specifically. So, I mean, Sora already went over this, but just to reiterate, like when we were working on our integration together, we literally had, I don't know, 10, 20 games that were like waiting and biting their nails. Like, okay, when is sequence going to launch? We want to use it on scale. It has like gas-free transactions. And so our entire like team was like, let's get it going. Come on, let's push it, guys. And so, and we got over the line, and that unblocked so many game developers. And now, like me personally, I also have game developers from other chains, or maybe they haven't picked a chain yet. They are looking at this integration. They're like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't realize like all these technical benefits that Scale also has. Like, how do I get in touch with the team? How do I build there? So that's something that I'm seeing more and more, especially as we launch that we're live, is how can new developers in the ecosystem now use these tools? And then, of course, it's the existing ecosystem that Scale already has that as Sequence we want to tap into. How do we accelerate them further, and how do we get their name out there? So, of course, this AMA is a great step. And then, how do we make it seamless for people to actually build with Scale and Sequence? And in light of this, what we'll be doing is also offering a grant program as Sequence and Scale. And so this will be around 10 million tokens. Let me check that. Yes, 10 million tokens that we'll be offering like in a grant to developers for building games on Scale. So if you do have any like questions, or you'd like to get in touch of like how you can tap into this, feel free to get in touch. But this is a commitment from us that we are strongly encouraging game developers to flow into Scale, and then how do we accelerate the existing ecosystem already in there. Sorry, I don't know if you wanted to tap into anything I just said there.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I think the one thing which there's actually two things I want to call out. The first, maybe a touch controversial, but everybody knows that that's me. I'm like Mr. Contrarian.
I'm getting ready to mute you.
Thanks. I really want to call out the piece about game developers and not necessarily having like these other skills. I personally did not have like a huge gaming background. So gaming has become really big for me over the last couple of years as I've worked in the Scale ecosystem. And I've been fortunate to work with, at this point, hundreds of game developers of all different skills, backgrounds, tooling, experience, etc. And the one thing that I found, which was really interesting to me, is game development is one of the most like narrowly scoped engineering role sets because it's so hard. Like I tried to build some games and they were pretty terrible. So I apologize to the world who played those. But I gained so much respect for game developers because I didn't realize how much there actually was to building a game. And it made a lot more sense to me than why most game developers didn't have, really any experience with backend technology, learning how to run a server, any like basic DevOps skills, any blockchain skills. It started to really click for me because building a game is like 25 different engineering roles built into one. Plus all the design and like the physics mechanics and everything. So just really want to point out that from I think one of the things, James, that you said that's really important for us when we think about this integration is we want to get games live on mainnet as soon as possible, because the hardest part about building software is shipping. Doesn't matter whether the product is good or bad. The hardest thing to do is get it out the door and start to get feedback and iterate. And so that's one of the things we've really been focused on is we know that everyone's working hard. They're maybe trying to raise money. They're maybe trying to, grow a community. But when people come to us and say, hey, we want to go live next week, right? We want to be on mainnet. We want to help them do that, right? And I think Sequence is a really great way to do that because of the fact that you don't need to go learn all these skills, like you said. You guys have the indexers, you have the contract deployments, you have, the wallet systems, and it's all embedded right into your SDK. So I think that's that was one of the biggest things for us, was we don't have to go, not that I don't like doing it. I love educating people on how to build in Web3 and how to build on Scale. But for a lot of people, they don't have the time to invest in that. And so, these are the types of solutions where it's like, here, it just works, right? You like go. Go ahead, Falcor.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I think like kind of to your point, and one of the things that I think a lot of developers are interested in what Web3 as a technology can offer. But to your point, when you look at the likes of smart contracts and the intricacy that goes into them, looking at all of the exploits, making sure that, it works properly, is something that I'm sure game devs who are looking at kind of just playing around with the idea of blockchain don't want to go in and learn everything about. I mean, there's still smart contracts to this day that have insane exploits, and then you have to go and find a good auditor that you have, but you're like, oh god, there's 900 of them. Who is actually a good auditor? Who's a reputable auditor? And it's it's a great partnership because it's kind of this all-in-one package, really, where you like you guys have been saying, they bring the game and you kind of bring the blockchain aspect, and they don't have to think about it. And I think that was a massive barrier to entry for certain individuals. To your teaching Sawyer part, it makes me want to start up a go-to-market marketing strategy for some games out there, because I feel like you can have really great devs but not great marketers about it. So I'm just gonna duplicate what you do and do it for marketing.
Well, great points. Marketing is a huge key to the puzzle. We'll have to do a separate AMA on off-chain gaming marketing. That'll be we'll probably get a huge audience for that, because it is hard. Marketing's one of those skills as well that over time I've come to realize it takes a village to make it happen. So props to everyone doing it on all these teams represented here today.
100%.
But real quick, I just want to call out one other thing on the sequence scale integration. Arguably probably more important than my first point, so maybe I should have started there. I apologize. But just really quick, why the zero gas fee piece is so important with sequence. So for those of you that don't know, sequence actually does use account abstraction. They don't use traditional what we call ERC 4337, which is what most account abstraction partners in the space use, or infra. They actually use ERC 5189, and I think there's one that starts with 6000 or starts with 6, but I don't remember that one off the top of my head. But basically, what's really important with account abstraction and just the zero gas fee piece and with sequence is it's a reminder for game developers that even if you're using an account abstraction partner or a gas abstraction partner on a chain that has gas fees, you are still on the hook for those fees. Like at some point, they're going to have to come back and charge you for your compute usage. So if the gas fee is 1 penny per transaction and you are doing 1 million transactions per day, like at some point they're going to send you a bill like at the end of the month and say, hey, we subsidize all this usage, you owe us this money. Because someone's paying that fee. Yeah, like if you go look, there's everyone does it a little bit different, but if you go look at pretty much every gas abstraction partner that is subsidizing the fees through like a paymaster is what the technical term is, at some point they have to get paid back because they're covering all those fees. And so just want to point out to people that think like, oh, gas abstraction is a solution to not using scale, I could just use it on, one of the existing chains I'm on. Just want to call out that, yes, you can do that, but like you're still footing the bill for that gas at some point. I know the Sequence team has a ton of amazing developer onboarding programs. So from my knowledge, there's a pretty generous free tier to get you started, as do, I think, probably most of the providers. But the reason I'm calling it out is because if you actually want to build a game that has tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of users per day, at some point, you need to go to a place where it is not cost prohibitive to scale, no pun intended. And so that's why I want to call that out, because sequence and scale together means you can use these account abstraction tools. You can use the embedded wallets, get the social login. They can deal with all the blockchain complexity. But if you do one transaction today or you do 5 million, your cost at the gas level is still zero. So you're just paying sequence for their operations. And from my knowledge, based on our partnership, they don't have to come back and charge you for the gas fees. They may still charge you for, your compute on their platform, but that's standard for software, right? But just want to call that out because the more you do on most blockchains, the more expensive it gets. And that is, in my opinion, one of the biggest unlocks for not just existing scale games, but all the sequence games currently live in production somewhere trying to grow. If they come over to scale, they can grow to as many users as they need, and they will not get hit with a giant gas bill at the end of the month. So just want to call that out. James, I don't know if you have anything to tweak there that I may be wrong about, but if not, we can proceed.
No, sorry, you hit the nail on the head. So like, while technically this is all possible and we do it because people want this as a feature, you are charged like based on the debit or credit card, and that's deducted. So 100% correct there. And I think in addition, like even though the technical complexity is not so difficult, what really factors in is like this business model aspect, because you have to preemptively make sure your business model is scalable, because if your game takes off, if it goes viral, then all of a sudden you're getting hit with a massive bill that you weren't prepared for, and maybe that doesn't make sense for every transaction that you're covering for your user. So I think that's really where it alleviates a lot of concerns, is just like the zero gas free across the board. You don't even need to think about it as a concern.
Imagine if Among Us was on the blockchain and was using that type of service. Like they were on like 13 to 40 average users a day for like 3 years, and then just randomly it went up to like 1 million. You could just imagine the poor kid in university opening his mail and seeing this bill for like $20 million in Ethereum gas fees. Oh god, that would be interesting. Just a quick question on my side, because it's actually genuinely interesting. That I feel like you're almost kicking the can down the road to an extent. Do you know at what price point you pay those gas fees? Is it at the moment of transaction? Is it at like would you do it at the end of the month? Like the price of, like if you're paying in like USD or if you're paying in Ethereum, like are you paying the gas fee of the fee at the moment of the transaction, or is it all collated and then you just get one big kind of like bundled fee at the end of the month?
Yeah, it's just like in this case, it's like a normal like SaaS subscription, more or less, specifically for the gas sponsorship piece, where you just add a debit or credit card, and then we just calculate, okay, how many transaction fees have you paid based on the price of the native gas token of the chain, and then we build this like retroactively.
Interesting. Yeah. Oh, no, definitely. I like these type of things because I'm a massive idiot, right? I am a pure gamer. Like I'm a marketer. I have no idea about the technical aspects of like anything. I know a bit here and there, but it is so like mind-opening for me to like actually learn about what goes on behind and the intricacies of everything that goes into it. It's really, really interesting. But no, yeah, I mean, partnering with Sequence has definitely been able to unlock a lot of features for our developers. And you know, to Sawyer, I guess, you know, as we have 15 minutes left, I'm curious if you could, you know, educate the community and everyone involved in, you know, what other kind of unique features does Scale have that games building on Scale can take advantage of just outside of the zero gas fees?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the 3 features that I think are probably most relevant to game developers specifically. Number one, which I called out earlier, is native RNG. Again, really surprising to me. I didn't really, think about it. A lot of people think, oh, it's just, like casino style games use random number generation, which a lot of them actually use rigged versions, right? Because they have to have their edge. But I was very surprised to learn like almost every game I've come across uses random number generation at some point, whether it's world generation, asset generation, to determine, success outcomes, whatever it is. The RNG piece was really big. Obviously, James, you've got a history of working, with Chainlink, and so I think Chainlink's probably the most well-known random number generation provider in the space with their VRF technology. Great technology, super innovative, but again, same kind of difficulty with one. It's a bit harder to use with their callback system, and two, it's expensive, right? If you have to use it, no pun intended, again, at scale, like if you have to grow up quick, like it gets expensive. And so RNG on scale is really big because one, it's just a read call and solidity. It uses the randomized block signatures from our BLS threshold keys to basically generate a random number every block. Then you can take that, manipulate it, get as many random numbers as you want in a single transaction. And it's a read call. So you don't have to do any callbacks, you don't have to do any waits, nothing like that. It just works and it's free. The second one is our large block gas limit. So for those of you that don't know what a block gas limit is, essentially in order for blockchains not to just get like infinitely spammed and timed out, every block has a limit of how much compute can be done in it. The average blockchain, when I say the average, I mean your Ethereum-based chains. So Ethereum, Optimism, Polygon, etc. For the most part, they all target about a 30 million. They have a maximum of about 30 million block gas limit. I think Ethereum just talked about raising theirs, but I don't think it went through yet. Usually what they do is they actually target about 15 million. Scale's block gas limit is actually 268 million. So if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I believe it's about a 768 like X comparatively to these other chains, based on my online calculator I did many months ago. What that means is lots of compute at one time. So this allows for huge transactions, whether it's, massive airdrops at the end of like a battle royale game, give everybody some loot, whether it's, whole autonomous worlds on chain, or even like in-game assets. Like you could do like on-chain SVGs and like do massive manipulation all on chain, render them down in Unity. It's pretty crazy. Like it's a lot of space, a lot of compute. We haven't seen too many games take like major advantage of it, but I think with the likes of like MUD, like the autonomous worlds and like truly on-chain gaming, I think people are going to start to realize, oh, like I could just do this on scale and I don't have to hack around anything. So that's point number two. And then last one, and I know we're out of time, so I'll keep this quick, is what we call speedy game mode, or used to be called speedy game mode. Now it's more commonly known as multi-transaction mode. This is enabled currently on our Nebula hub and our Titan hub. It is not available on our Calypso or Europa hubs. What it does specifically is it allows multiple transactions to be sent from the same wallet in one block. And so this is really key because it was actually a design in the original version of Scale to not allow multiple transactions from the same wallet in the same block. It was a security feature. And then we realized that we could actually just meter security through the gas token, the S-Fuel token, which has no monetary value, but just used for security. And so I believe it was Stan that came up with this feature, really smart guy. And now you can basically send as many transactions as you can fit in a block at once. And so what's really cool is for example, account abstraction with Sequence. They have, their bundlers and their relayers that are basically taking all these transactions and submitting they can submit huge amounts at once. They could submit technically 100 transactions or 400 transactions from the same relayer in one block, as long as they increment the nonces manually, which is fairly easy to do. And most relayers, from my knowledge, do it already. You can basically just fit massive amounts of compute all at once. And that is something that if you try to do it on other chains, if the gas pricing changes or nonces get out of order, everything just starts to go haywire. And so it's just really easy on Scale. So those are probably my three favorite ones for gaming. And then, of course, the zero gas fee piece, right? Like you just can't beat it. But I'll pause there, see if there's, any thoughts or questions or comments from anybody. But yeah.
No, it's yeah, it's I like the native RNG. I think is really, really interesting because sometimes you just want to have an easy way. And then, people within the space are very untrusting, right? I think we can all attest. And to have a on-chain RNG component that you can showcase to people on chain to prove that this is something that is RNG is really, really cool. When you go in and play games like opening loot boxes or things like that, right? If you're looking at like CS:GO or Overwatch or another game that I can't think of right now, you always feel like the odds are lying to you. But to actually have that as a blockchain transaction that you can go back and look at and prove that it's just your luck sucks, is really good. And as Sawyer said, we are running out of time, and I just wanted to quickly go back over to Giacomo.
That's bad.
Or you are going to be a meme tomorrow.
I do apologize.
I bet your boss is probably listening to this. He knows who he is. If he doesn't make a meme and post that on Twitter in the next 24 to 48 hours, I'll be serious.
Was it just every time, every different way I've said his name?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Can you just as we're beginning to wrap up, I think it'd be really cool to kind of look at like what is it that like one feature of sequence and one feature from scale you're most excited about integrating into Zoppel?
Yes, of course. Beautiful questions. Yeah, let me say before that I am totally agree with both of them, because Sawyer told about the that create a game and the developing it is tough, and it is. So of course we started in 5 and now we are not so much, but 12, and working with scale and sequence means also to talk with more developers, more minds, and at the end, very simply, more minds I think is more power. So if you have a trouble, if you need to fix something, also it's challenging to put something on the on the stores, iOS and Android. So having this kind of infrastructure behind is something that on the stores in the traditional channels is not usual. So this is a process, and working with sequence scale means also some help, working with great people, and we love it. So about the main future, I think we already touched them. So for scale, the zero gas fee is something really, really huge in the game field, because I think it's the future, together with the digital ownership and everything we can handle with a fast blockchain, without thinking about the technical aspects, because there is behind an infrastructure designed to be easy and simple. So for sequence, actually is the same. What I love is, for example, the wallet infrastructure and all the authentication future, because it's something that is really, the people already know this kind of authentication, Google or any kind of social. So this is really user friendly. And before I was talking about my grandma, because this is the point. If my grandma can play it and moving also around, because for example we are developing a reader for the comics, so playing the game you will unlock something about the comics and moving out from the game, but using the same infrastructure, the same authentication. The movement is so linear, so it's simple, and the user experience, it will be inclusive also for different kind of experience, like the comics inside the game and otherwise. So these are I think the two main feature I love, and of course at the end I love this partnership. I love the infrastructure of Scale. I love Sequence, and because both works perfectly together. So actually, it's perfect.
It's a yin and a yang, if you will.
Yeah.
And you actually mentioned something that I kind of completely forgot about, which was, some of the biggest demographics of gamers are, to your point, elderly individuals playing the likes of Candy Crush, or my mother is a massive fan of these like kind of like puzzle games and things like that, right?
Yes.
And these are some of the largest demographics in gaming. I'm not going to quote the stat, because the last time I read the Newzoo report on gaming demographics, I think it was in like 2022, so I don't remember off the top of my head, but it is a very large portion, and we all know how difficult it is to give your parents or your grandparents new technology, and the number of calls you get to help them deal with their new technology. I know for a fact I would not be able to talk my dad, who's like he's a big gamer, right? And I spoke to him about there's a new game coming from Eve online, Eve Frontier, and I was talking to him about it, and he was like, "Oh, I really, really want to give it a go," and I was like, no, because you're going to be calling me up and trying to talk to me every time you need to deal with a transaction or actually make an account and things like that. And I honestly would like emancipate myself from this relationship, because it would drive me insane. And that is something that I think is so incredible, about this, the partnerships with Sequence and with Scale, is that these big demographics that a lot of people aren't focusing on, like people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, even going into their 80s. Shout out to the Silver Gang of the CS:GO team. It's like a bunch of 80-year-old men and women that are playing CS:GO. These are demographics that are untouched in Web3. But to get into those demographics, we need to actually be having an onboarding experience that they can deal with. So we are coming to the top of the hour now. I just wanted to give some any closing thoughts from you guys. We'll start with James. Do you have any closing thoughts as we turn this thing down?
So, I mean, I think it was really helpful. Like, I actually learned a lot as well from this AMA. So it was really great to hear Sawyer dive into, like, same with you. I didn't know they had like native, basically, file storage on the chain. So I really like to learn new things myself. I want to be constantly learning. I will say, like, if you want to get in touch, if you want to build with Sequence on Scale, feel free to reach out to our teams. As was mentioned, we cover the entire full stack of Web3 gaming infrastructure, from wallets, marketplaces, so on and so forth. So anything you're thinking about building, it's not only on the technical side. Of course, that's what's near and dear to my heart. We also have a very strategic team that helps you get user acquisition and retention, and introduce you to different people that can help build your game out. So I just want to make sure and help people build. So I'll turn it over there.
And my final butchering of his poor name, Giacomo? Giacomo?
You can use also Jack, like Jack Sparrow.
Jack, any final words from you, my friend?
Yeah, guys, it was amazing. Thank you. And, we are launching the alpha, so if you want to check out, it's on our website, zoppel.io, sorry. And we are going to have also our first physical volume of the comics, so you can explore at 360 degrees all the ecosystem in the art and also in the gaming field. So
I want that. I want that.
yeah, feel free to do it, please. And this is the beginning. I'm really glad to work with Scale and Sequence. I think we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of ideas about the gaming economy and the marketplace. So this is just the beginning. I hope everything is going great.
Incredible. Thank you so much. And Sawyer, finally, ironically, in an hour-long conversation, this is the least I've heard you speak.
That is ironic. We'll keep it that way. I'm getting more efficient. More efficient as I go. Really good to be here. Thanks everybody for joining. If you're tuned in on one of our channels, thank you as well for listening. If you're a developer, like James said, reach out to the Sequence team, reach out to us at the Scale team. We are here to help you build Web3 games. If you're not a Web3 game and you still want to build on Scale, we do everything. But obviously our gaming is our bread and butter. If you are interested in learning more about some of the things that I spoke about today, and or things that the Zoppel team spoke about, or Sequence, join us in our Discord. Falcor, I hope we figured out how to post links on this. If we haven't, that's okay.
No, we haven't.
But if not, it's skale.chat. So scale.chat is like the URL. It'll take you right to our Discord. Falcor's redesigned the whole thing. Thank you so much for doing that. And it means you can come ask us questions. We also do office hours in our Discord every Tuesday. We are done for the year because it's holiday season and everybody kind of tunes out. I'll still be available there async, always happy to jump into the office hours channel and support people. But going into next year, starting, I think the week after, we'll probably do one on New Year's Eve. Every Tuesday, they alternate between 1 a.m. PST, which is 8 a.m. GMT, Lisbon time, with my colleague Manel. And then I alternate between 9 a.m. PST and 5 p.m. PST on mine. So we kind of have a rotating set so we can hit all the different time zones. But if you're interested in learning more, we are there to help, support, troubleshoot, and talk about Scale. So hope to see everybody there. But otherwise, thank you guys again for joining and talking about Scale and building on Scale. So I really appreciate it. And Falcor, thank you for running the show.
No worries at all. We went a little bit over. This is my first one, so I do apologize for that. I will try and be efficient like Sawyer moving forward. But I think we went through a lot of things today, right? And I think it's important to highlight the likes of Sequence is now live, right, on Scale's Nebula Gaming Hub, which is an incredible partnership that we're super excited to be talking about. Zoppel will be going live on Scale and Sequence in early Q1 of 2025 as well, which is I'm excited. It's gonna be awesome, dude. Yes, more games. Give me more games. Give me excuses to not actually work and play games. Other than that, guys, make sure you are following us across our social channels. Whether you're in YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you are on Twitter, X, I'm never gonna get used to calling it X. Press the follow button. Where else are we live? I don't know. Instagram, maybe. Who knows?
Twitch?
No, we don't have a Twitch channel. If we're on Instagram, I don't know if we're on Instagram. If we're on Instagram, follow.
You can follow Zoppel Instagram, no problem.
Yeah, and follow as well. Follow all the partners. This is going to probably, you know what? There's probably going to be a YouTube video out of this. All the links are below. I hope so. Join the Discord, hang out with me. We're going to be doing lots of fun stuff, from game nights to town halls to partner Q&A. So you're probably going to see these beautiful men once again. Didn't mean to make it rhyme. Don't know how it happened. And also, just remember, Scale is the #1 gaming blockchain in the world per CoinGecko. So that isn't something that we're just making up. It is another person saying it. So yeah, It's been an absolute pleasure to sit here with you guys. Thank you again for hanging out. And we will see you in the new year, 2025. Goodbye.
Yes. Thank you.
Everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Ciao.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.